Sublimation, Part 1. Act 1. The pressure. There is a kind of energy that society does not like to talk about. It is not polite, it is not safe, and it is not comfortable. It is anger without an object, desire without permission, ambition without a socially acceptable mask, envy that burns quietly, sexual tension that has nowhere to go, aggression that cannot be discharged, a restless pressure that lives under the skin and refuses to disappear. Most people spend their entire lives trying to get rid of it. They call it weakness, they call it immaturity, they call it something wrong with me. But Sigmund Freud saw something else. He saw fuel. Every civilization begins with a paradox. For society to exist, human beings must suppress their most primitive impulses. Violence, sexuality, domination, raw desire, all of it must be restrained, redirected, civilized. Without repression, there is chaos. Without rules, there is no order. But repression has a cost. When instinct is pushed underground, it does not disappear. It accumulates, it condenses, it transforms into pressure. Freud called this pressure psychic energy, libido, not just sexual energy in the narrow sense, but life force itself, the drive to act, to conquer, to create, to destroy. And here lies the problem. Civilization demands that you do not act on it directly, but nature demands that it be expressed. So what happens when a powerful force has no exit? It turns inward.
This is where most people break. They feel the tension, but they don't understand it. They wake up tired without knowing why. They are irritated for no clear reason. They chase distractions, endless entertainment, cheap dopamine, numbing routines. They moralize their own impulses, calling them toxic, bad, unacceptable. They try to kill the energy instead of mastering it. But the energy doesn't die. It rots. And when it rots, it turns into anxiety, depression, compulsions, self-sabotage, passive aggression, addiction, and quiet despair. Freud did not believe that psychological health meant peace. He believed it meant transformation. This is where sublimation enters the story. Sublimation is not suppression. It is not denial. It is not pretending you are pure. Sublimation is the art of redirecting destructive energy into something culturally elevated, socially valued, and personally meaningful. The same aggression that could destroy a man becomes the force that builds an empire. The same forbidden desire that could ruin a life becomes art, science, philosophy. The same inner chaos that could collapse a psyche becomes discipline, mastery, creation. This is not a metaphor. This is mechanics. Freud noticed something unsettling. The people who produced the greatest works of culture, writers, scientists, artists, leaders, were often not the most balanced or peaceful individuals. They were tense, obsessive, restless, driven, haunted.
They were not free of inner conflict. They were powered by it. The difference was not the absence of darkness. It was the direction of the flow. Imagine a man born with an unusually intense nervous system. He feels more deeply than others. His desires are stronger, his frustrations sharper, his impulses harder to control. Society looks at him and says, "Calm down, be normal, don't want so much, don't feel so much, don't push so hard." If he obeys completely, he withers. If he rebels blindly, he self-destructs. But if he learns to sublimate, to channel, he becomes dangerous in the most productive way possible. This is the hero of our story. Not a moral saint, not a peaceful monk, but a disciplined alchemist of his own darkness. Act 1 of every hero's journey begins with pressure, a sense that something inside does not fit the world as it is. Freud understood this better than anyone. He saw that neurosis was not simply illness, it was often energy trapped in the wrong form. Symptoms were not meaningless malfunctions. They were distorted expressions of something that wanted to live. A compulsive ritual, a recurring fantasy, an irrational fear, a persistent obsession. These were not random. They were messages from repressed forces demanding transformation. Here is the uncomfortable truth most self-help culture avoids. Not everyone is meant to be calm.
Not everyone is meant to be at peace. Not everyone is meant to dissolve their ego and float. Some people are built for intensity, and intensity demands direction. Sublimation begins when the hero stops asking, "How do I get rid of this?" and starts asking, "What can this become?" This is a radical shift. Instead of fighting your aggression, you train it. Instead of moralizing your ambition, you refine it. Instead of numbing your desire, you give it a long-term target. You stop leaking energy through symptoms and start storing it as power. But this path is not comfortable, because to sublimate, you must first accept the truth about yourself. You must admit, I am not as gentle as I pretend. I am not as pure as I want to be. I am not as harmless as society would prefer. This is the moment most people turn back, because it is easier to remain neurotic than to become responsible for your own force. Freud believed civilization advances not because humans become nicer, but because they become better at transforming raw instinct into structured achievement. Law is sublimated aggression. Art is sublimated desire. Science is sublimated curiosity and domination over nature. Work ethic is sublimated survival anxiety. Behind every noble human achievement lies something primitive, redirected. The tragedy of the modern world is not repression. It is misdirection. We no longer teach people how to sublimate.
We teach them how to suppress, numb, or moralize themselves into mediocrity. We tell driven people they are too much. We tell angry people to calm down. We tell ambitious people to be grateful. We tell intense people to just relax. And when they fail to do so, we label them broken. But Freud would say they are unfinished. Energy without form is chaos. Form without energy is dead. Sublimation is the bridge. This is where Act 1 ends. The hero has not yet mastered anything. They are still restless, still conflicted, still dangerous, to themselves most of all. But now, for the first time, they understand the truth. Their darkness is not the enemy. It is the raw material. And in Act 2, we will enter the most difficult phase of the journey: discipline, sacrifice, and the slow, painful process of turning fire into structure. The transformation has begun.
Sublimation, Part 2. Final. The Act 2 and 3, the Forge and the Transformation. The moment the hero accepts that their darkness is not a defect but a resource, the real work begins. And this is where most stories lie. Not in triumph, not in inspiration, but in discipline. Sublimation is not an emotional breakthrough. It is not a single insight that suddenly turns chaos into clarity. It is a long, grinding process of containment, of limits, of structure.
Freud understood something deeply unpopular. Raw instinct is powerful, but without form, it is destructive. And form is never gentle. To sublimate means to build walls strong enough to hold the fire without extinguishing it. This is why sublimation feels, at first, like suffering. The hero now stands in the forge. They feel the same aggression, the same desire, the same restless drive. Nothing has magically disappeared, but now there is a rule. The energy must move forward, not sideways. No more leaking through impulsive arguments. No more self-destructive shortcuts. No more fantasizing without execution. Every impulse must earn its expression. This is where discipline is born. Discipline is often misunderstood as suppression. It is not. Suppression says, you are not allowed to exist. Discipline says, you exist, but you will obey a higher goal. The instinct is not killed, it is enslaved. And paradoxically, this is what frees the individual.
Freud observed that the strongest personalities were not those with the weakest impulses, but those capable of delaying gratification without losing intensity. They could hold tension without collapsing. They could endure frustration without escaping. They could suffer without disintegrating. This capacity separates creators from consumers, leaders from followers, builders from critics. Here, the hero encounters the hardest truth of the journey. Sublimation demands sacrifice, not of morality, but of immediacy. The pleasure must wait. The recognition must wait. The release must wait. And waiting hurts. Most people cannot tolerate this phase. They return to easier paths: distraction, resentment, moral superiority, or numbness. They call discipline oppression and impulse authenticity. But Freud would say this is regression. True freedom is not the absence of restraint. It is the mastery of force. Slowly, something changes. The hero's energy begins to take shape. Aggression becomes precision. Desire becomes focus. Anxiety becomes vigilance. Obsession becomes mastery. The same inner tension that once produced symptoms now produces output. Work becomes charged. Creation becomes inevitable. Effort feels meaningful, even when it hurts. This is the turning point. Notice something important. Peace does not arrive. What arrives is alignment. The hero is still restless, but no longer fragmented.
Still intense, but no longer chaotic. Still driven, but now moving in one direction. This is what sublimation looks like from the inside. Not calm, but coherent. Freud believed that civilization itself is built on this principle. Every great structure, every system, every enduring institution is frozen psychic energy, desire disciplined over time. The same applies to the individual. When sublimation succeeds, a person becomes larger than their symptoms. They no longer need to constantly explain themselves, defend themselves, or prove themselves. Their work speaks. Their presence carries weight. They are no longer reactive. They are deliberate. This is Act 3. The hero returns, not to comfort, but to reality, transformed. They no longer envy those who seem at peace. They understand the cost of peace. They know that their own path requires tension, effort, and responsibility. And they accept it.
Here is the final uncomfortable conclusion of Freud's idea of sublimation. Greatness is not achieved by resolving inner conflict. It is achieved by organizing it. The goal is not inner silence. The goal is inner order. If you feel too much, you are not broken. If you want too much, you are not immoral. If you are restless, you are not weak. You are carrying more energy than your current structure can handle. Build better structures. That is the task. Not to become harmless, but to become precise.
Not to eliminate desire, but to give it a form worthy of its power. Not to chase peace, but to earn coherence. Freud never promised happiness. He promised meaning. And meaning, unlike comfort, can carry the full weight of who you are. This is sublimation. Not a cure, a transformation. And once you understand it, you will never again ask how to get rid of your darkness. You will ask what it is capable of building.